the last thing not last thing, but one of the next things you wanted to get to here, D, was Jackson Cantwell and his honor that he received yesterday.
Yeah, this was a crazy, man. So Max Preps, which does kind of high school athletics, high school stats, baseball, football, basketball, other sports, they released their top 100 high school athletes of the century thus far. So I mean, you're seeing like Missy Franklin, Olympian, Joyce Edwards, Ella Deladon, LeBron James, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, every sport, man and woman, and different types of high-end play. I mean, look at the top three here. So these are elite players: Derrick Henry, Joe Mauer, which to me, by the way, if I'm making this list, I know LeBron was great. Joe Mauer should have been the number one player on this list, hands down. I don't even think it's even close. But I mean, how is Joe Mauer not number one on this list before I get to Jackson Cantwell? So let me see if you see the screen here. But yeah, so here's the list. So yeah, LeBron James, number one, Patrick Mahomes, number two, Kyler Murray, number three. Kyler Murray's definitely up there. Derrick Henry, four, he's dominant player. He right there up near Jacksonville. And Joe Mauer, number Yuli, yes, sir. Joe Mauer, number five, which I'll get to this in a second, because again, I believe strongly this guy should have been number one overall by a mile. But Candace Parker, Trevor Lawrence, Mike Trout, these are huge names. Look at this one, Cameron Boozer, number 20, first three-time All-America, along with
four-time state champ. That seems like a pretty easy one there.
Gable Steveson, incredible. I mean, you go down the list. These are the best of the best, right? But then when you get to number 80, first Cane on the board, Jeremiah Smith, 74. Won't talk about that. Won states and track. But here we go, Jackson Cantwell. Although he has a year left in high school, he's already 80. Look at that. Cantwell's already snagged Max Press Male Athlete of the Year honors during the 2024-25 year. He earned All-State MVP honors in football as offensive. I don't know if he played defensive lineman. I don't know if that's accurate, but he had the nation's best mark in the shot put, the best thrower in the country. So the number one football recruit and the number one thrower, basically number one in two sports. To me, that definitely earns a spot. I'd probably put him higher for being number one in those two sports. But that to me is the one. Here we go.
This is what I like. He said his response was, wow, yeah, that's pretty cool. And then this is, like you said, he said, and with one more season to go chase some goals and get better. So he wants to move himself up that list.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a goal-oriented guy. Special. I just think the intangibles and the athleticism is special.
I was going to make the same point Online Transactions said. He said LeBron's number one because his high school hype matches pro career. Joe Mauer was good, but then matches hype. I mean, he was an all-star, right?
Forget all-star. He's in the Hall of Fame.
He was the best. He was the best hitting catcher in baseball, right? For a while, and the fact that he was also a five-star quarterback is, if we're talking about high school career, I get what D's saying, but I also understand with the hype as crazy as it was for LeBron and he matched it. That's always going to be the most, to me, incredible thing.
Yeah, no, this is an interesting discussion. I mean, look, Utah LeBron, I really think Joe Mauer is the best athlete of this era overall. Maybe Ohtani now. Because you really look at it, you say, all right, here he is, number 5. In the 40 years, Gatorade's picked a National Player of the Year in football. Joe Mauer is the only selection who has never played a down at college football. So he went to the same high school as Steve Walsh, same high school as Chantrell Henderson in Minnesota. Not only was he the player of the year in baseball, he was the player of the year in football. He's a 5-star quarterback, like I said, the number 1 overall player in the country in both sports. So not only was he good at both sports, he was number 1 overall in both sports. Would have been a tremendous pro prospect at football. He's coming into Florida State. That was the early Rivals era, and I remember he was like the first player I followed as like that number 1 guy, or one of the first guys I watched as a number 1 guy. But then you go to the pros, Hall of Fame baseball player, best hitting catcher I have ever seen, and first professional baseball player selected to the Hall of Fame to play his entire career in the 21st century. He was also All-State in basketball. So you talk about All-State basketball, and then number 1 player in football and baseball, Hall of Famer in baseball, could have easily been a pro in football. To me, that's the best athlete of all time, or at least high school athlete of my lifetime.
When I feel like he retired relatively young too. Like he could have played a few more years. Yeah.
Yeah, he had some injuries, but he was unreal. Kyler Murray, you put in that category too, top 10 pick in football and baseball. LeBron, obviously, you got to put him in a high category because he was a good football player as well. Jackson Cantwell climbing up the charts. The only one I disagree with on that list, well, I haven't looked at the whole list, but as far as omission from a Canes standpoint, Sean Taylor. You know, Sean Taylor as the all-time leading runner as far as touchdowns in high school until Derrick Henry broke that record. Then he also, had what he did on defense and special teams. I would have had Sean Taylor on that list. Derrick Henry's number 4.
The only thing that holds Henry back to me is that he was playing incredibly poor competition.
Yeah, which Sean Taylor was too.
Yeah, which the same thing for Taylor. I think you could probably say that for both.
But I mean, if these guys are giving Derrick Henry all that credit for beating Sean Taylor's record, and then Sean Taylor also was the best defensive player, I think that at least get him on the list somewhere. TJ Preble saying Derrick Henry was unreal in high school. Patrick Mahomes shouldn't be on the list based on. Yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes was a very good high school athlete, but he was really better in pros and college. Kyler Murray for sure, I think is up there because he was really good. He was picked in baseball more on traits. Joe Mauer was a better baseball player, but Kyler Murray was still a top 10 pick in baseball. Never played really after college too much because he stuck with football, and that worked out for him. And the crazy about Kyler Murray, he's not even like the most high character guy. Like he has a rap for being kind of lazy, which is crazy considering he plays both sports.
Yeah, well, and he's as small as he is too. That's the other part of it. That's crazy.
Yeah, the speed. Who else is on that list? Hold on. Let's on the Mahomes. It's actually interesting. I didn't know this. So on the Mahomes, here's what they're saying. They're saying it's not retrospect. How was this guy a 3-star, by the way? Here's what they're saying on which actually is interesting. In addition to throwing for 8,400 yards in football, he scored 49 points in a basketball game and tossed a no-hitter with 16 strikeouts in baseball. While many slept on Mahomes in high school, we are rewriting history. He was the Max Preps National Athlete of the Year for 2013, 2014. How did this guy not get more attention? 3-star player.
Crazy.
What the heck is going on here, man?
Kendrick Merrick says he ain't better than Lamar Jackson.
Mahomes? I mean, I'm the biggest Lamar Jackson fan on the planet, but I think you got to give that to Mahomes. I say Mahomes 1, then like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson battling for 2.
D is a legitimately huge Lamar guy. He's a big defender of him in our chats. I am too, but not to the degree that D is.
Well, it's because in high school, I didn't understand, or in college, I'm sorry. High school, honestly, let me say this. In high school, I did not know he was going to be this good. I saw him play against Central.
We went to the game against Booker T, was it?
The one I went to, I went to Central, Boynton Beach against Central, and he didn't do anything. His team was really undermanned. It wasn't all his fault, but he didn't look physical like he did, like he became. He gained a lot of weight, and he's just a really smart football playing kind of guy. And all
right, Kendrick was talking about Kyler Murray. So
yeah, no, Lamar Jackson's definitely way better than Kyler Murray. Just better character, more football serious. But yeah,
he won a lot more than him.
No, he's better in every respect, but he's worked hard to get where he is, Lamar. I mean, we look at his natural talent, but I don't think people give him enough credit for the work he's put on his body, the work he's put on in his throwing. He should have been the fact that every team in the NFL passed on him. That's the craziest thing about Lamar. The guy was the best player in college by a mile. He had all the tools in the world. He was the youngest player to ever win the Heisman. So the youth was on his side. A lot of these analytical models put a lot of weight on guys that are younger. So he had all those things checked, never got in trouble. I mean, nothing. And then every team in the NFL passed on him. The Ravens picked him, but they picked that crappy tight end from South Carolina first. So
Hayden Hurst.
Every team passed from him.
Was he from Arkansas?
No, that's a different guy. That's a Hunter Henry.
Okay.
Yeah, Hayden Hurst is from South Carolina. I believe with the Jacksonville Bulls, baseball player as well. Yeah, so every team in the league passed on Jackson, which is crazy considering that everything he did in college was right there. That was one of the big mistakes. But anyways, Jackson Cantwell, huge honor for him. still number one player overall in the composite. The question is going to be, is he going to be a multi-sport athlete at Miami? And based on what I've heard, Pete, tell me if you heard differently. I know you're plugged in there in that room. I think with Cantwell, my guess, and this is not set in stone, is that he goes to college, gets there early, skips his senior year of track, works hard, gets a starting spot. And then if he becomes like a Malinois where he's a freshman All-America and he just kind of establishes the guy, then I could see him going back to track and then be setting ACC records kind of almost immediately.
Yeah, I think that's a good. I think that's a good guess. I don't think deep down he really wants to give the throwing up. He wants to stop throwing, I should say. But he also is a very goal-oriented person and knows that his best chance to. Because from what I understand, he's already like he asks a million questions about the playbook and scheme stuff, and he's really trying to get ahead in that aspect of it because he wants to be able to come in here and just worry about getting on the field and executing what he's supposed to do. So I would agree with that.
Scott asking, Cantwell would have been a national champion this year in shot put. He was the national champion. I think he's one of the top 3 throwers in high school of all time. The question is, if he comes back for his senior year, which is during when he'd be in spring practice for Miami as a true freshman, if he enrolls early. So if he does his track during that period, which again would force him not to enroll early, he has a chance to break the national record, which I believe is held by an NFL player. Michael Carter of the San Francisco 49ers, who went to SMU, 5th round pick, 3-time All-Pro for the 49ers there as a nose tackle in the mid 80s. So stud player from Dallas, Jefferson High School, 6'2", 285. This guy's a monster, man. But yeah, 81-foot shot put, which beat the previous record by 9 feet, is the American national high school record. I mean, what a throw. But yeah, that's who Cantwell would be chasing. I think Cantwell's already like 2 or 3 all time behind him, and he hasn't even had his senior year. He may not, because again, I think he's going to roll early and play. But yeah, man, he is elite. Oh, Scott's saying, I think, in college, I think his throw is better than the NCAA champion. Yeah, I think well, correct me, I'm not a track expert. Is the ball the same size in college and high school? It might be. I'm not a track expert at all. So someone in the comments, I'm sure, will correct me on that. But yeah, I think he'd be one of the top throwers in college immediately, if not the top thrower in college. So it's just a matter of when he wants to do it. I think in his mind, he's like, look, I can take a year off and come back and still be pretty good throwing.
The men's both use 16 pounds. So it's different for women's, but high school and college is the same. I just looked it up.
So yeah, let's look at the ACC championship shot put. So the men's.
Excuse me, I'm actually, I read it wrong. High school boys use a 12-pound shot put. In college, men's shot put weighs 16 pounds. So it's for women, it's the same. I read it wrong.
Okay, yeah. So but I mean, I think most people say he would be one of the top guys in the country, like immediately. That's kind of the word on him, that he would be a top guy pretty quick when it comes to throwing. And look, I'll tell you, when it comes to Cantwell, he's going to be in Miami one way or the other. Latest, summer, but I think most likely spring, and he'll be loading up on the best Cuban food in Miami, guaranteed. That's Islas Canarias Cuban Express. I heard he did have Cuban food on his visit. He hadn't been introduced to Islas Canarias Cuban Express yet. Once he is, he's going to be there pretty regularly. Is right there next to campus in the Dayland Mall Dining Pavilion. 40-plus years of the best Cuban food in Miami. Just won another award from the Miami New Times, but they win awards all the time. The menu is elite. Let's pull it up here. You're talking about 7 different types of croquetas, sandwiches, empanadas, pastries, tequeños, soup, you name it. They got it at Islas Canarias Cuban Express, the #1 Cuban restaurant on the planet, conveniently located in the Dayland Mall Dining Pavilion.